Good evening, everybody. We're getting going here. Sorry, we've been running around a little bit. I forgot my Bible in my office, and I just walked over to get the Bible sitting over there on the table, and it's a hymn book. So, my lovely bride is going to gather up my Bible, and she's coming back. But tonight, where are we? We're in Psalms again. We've been moving through the Psalms. We covered the first few, and we've gone up through 16. But tonight we're going to move forward a little bit. We're going to jump into Psalms 19, and we're going to jump into Psalms 23 tonight. We should be able to get both taken care of. Of course, with 23, so many, you ask anybody, what Psalms do you know? Psalms 23. Or if they don't even know which Psalm it is, they know, some of the verses to it. Yay, everybody give my wife a hand. Thank you. I often joke that she's my right brain, because she certainly keeps me in line. Helps me to stay in line would be a good way to put it. However, let's start here on Psalms 19. Again, these are Psalms of David. We've been pretty much focusing on Psalms of David. But here, a couple of things about Psalms 19. As I read through it real quick, not real quick, but as I read through it, notice how it changes. We've got... and it's a lot of people want to attach the title to Psalms 19 as a self-disclosure to humanity. In other words, how is God letting people know He's there and He is God? Well, the first part of this, as we look through, the first half is pretty much through nature, and then it talks about through His Word. So I'm going to jump in here again. This is Psalm 19, starting in verse 1. It says, "The heavens declare my glory. The skies proclaim the work of His hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge. They have no speech, though they use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. In the heavens God has pitched a tent for the sun. It is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, like a champion rejoicing to run his course. It rises at one end of the heavens and makes its circuit to the other. Nothing is deprived of its warmth." I'm going to stop right here and go back just over this section, since it's kind of broken into two sections. But if we look here at what is being said, the heavens declare the glory of God. What is, this is used, isn't it? This is used to say no one can say there is no God. No one can say there is no God. We see in Romans 1:20, how Paul's talking about you don't have an excuse. God has shown Himself to you. The skies proclaim the works of His hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth. Their words to the end of the world. They're so grand. The creation of God is so grand. They don't have to physically speak to talk of God. How many here have been into the American West, or specifically like Wyoming or Montana. Quite a few of you. I hope you've been out there other times than in the summer. Summer it gets dark so terribly late and gets light some morning. But I hope when you were there, you were able to look at the stars at night. It's unbelievable. It's something I want Paul to be able to see one of these days. Living here, we see stars. We see some stars. Matter of fact, I was sitting on the dock the other night with my neighbor, and we were commenting on the star that was directly above the moon, and how, whether it was a star or planet, and how beautiful it was and bright, and just amazing, the galaxy and the universe that we live in, how absolutely unfathomable it is. And then you go out west and you get a whole new definition of it. I mean, from horizon to horizon, it's nothing but stars. You know, if you're lucky if you can pick out the Big Dipper or the Little Dipper, where you go out there and you figure out, hey, there's stars inside the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper, and it's the grandeur of it is so incredible. You know, you've gone places in this world and seen things that have been so beautiful. Have you ever been somewhere you thought, I can't take a bad picture today? Everything is just so beautiful. Karen and I, right after we moved up here in 1999, went to Cades Cove. We were like the third car into Cades Cove after they got about 6 inches of snow. Couldn't take a bad picture. This stuff isn't happenstance. This stuff isn't just some matter exploded. You know, there is an intelligent design over us and our world. And ironically, that intelligent design is having an impact on people today. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, called the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Hawking's, not Stephen Hawking's, but Adam, I believe. Staunch atheists. Just creation, I mean, literally. And they've all gotten to the point, they've argued it so long, they cannot explain it other than it's an intelligent design. And they go, well, it wasn't God, it was aliens or something. Literally, I'm not making that up. But even they know that what their whole life mission over the last 30, 40 years is to deny God. They even know this has been an intelligent design. Designed by, we know, is God. It speaks to us. It spoke to them then. It speaks to us now. Sometimes when we get so caught up, or whatever term you want to use, in life, it is good, very good for us to stop and remember what's around us. Whether it be sitting on the dock looking at the stars, going in the woods and walking, peacefulness, maybe going to the beach, maybe whatever it is, going to see some of the waterfalls, but just realizing how incredible our world is. The God that made it knows each and every single one of us. Loves each and every single one of us. Isn't that incredible? I mean, created the universe. Figured out Yosemite. You know how beautiful it is. Just unbelievable. The God that can create something like that created each one of us. This is incredible. But moving on, as I digress, I'm sorry. Moving on, picking up in verse 7 of Psalms 19, it says, "The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commandments of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The decrees of the Lord are firm, and all of them are righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. They are sweeter than honey from a honeycomb. By them your servant is warned. In keeping them there is great reward. So we have David going and then talking about the splendor of everything in the world. He goes then to talking about, well, he would have been referring to the Torah at that time, but is the scriptures as we know them. And he's talking about the law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing for the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making simple the wise. Making wise the simple, excuse me. Have you ever met anybody that's pushed back? It's pushed back on the gospel. Oh, you know, I become Christian, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I can't do 6.5 dozen one of the other things. There's always, I don't want people telling me what to do. We've talked about that. I'm going to be very brief on this part. We talked about this many times. They're there for us, not to keep us from stuff, but to help us. They're guardrails. If you're driving a mountain pass, would you rather have guardrails or no guardrails? I've probably seen those world's most dangerous roads. They're in Asia where they're driving along a literally 1,000-foot cliff. Please give me a guardrail. But there's some people that don't want it for some reason. But they see it in a way that's not what it's meant to be. I love the portion here, the second part of 7, where it says, the statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. Think about the Pharisees and the fishermen. Making wise the simple. The fishermen, the apostles, were so much wiser than the wisest Pharisee. All because of God's word. And then it says, the precepts of the Lord are right, bringing joy to the heart. Following God's law will bring you joy. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever, never ending, helping us to understand, helping us to see. All of them are righteous. Then we have a change here. This is David saying this. Now, this is the guy that has, next to Solomon, but that's later, but any riches he could want. He could have anything in the world he wants. His gold, silver, jewels, you name it. He could eat anything he wanted. Doesn't matter. David is here telling us the laws of the Lord, the scriptures, they're more precious than gold, than much pure gold. They're sweeter than honey from a honeycomb. This is a guy that can have anything. And this is what he says about the scriptures. Wouldn't our world be a totally different place if we, at least I'll count myself in that, but especially the world would think of the scriptures the way David does, or David did. He could have anything, and he says, these are the utmost. These are what you need. I mean, wow. Wouldn't it be wonder if our world were that way today? He picks back up in 11. By them your servant is warned. In keeping them there is great reward. But who can discern their own errors? Forgive my hidden faults. Keep your servant also from willful sinning. May they not rule over me. Then I will be blameless, innocent of great transgression. May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. So we have David here going, man, but who can figure out all the errors they've made? What did I do? When did I do? Basically saying we all mess up. It's what David is saying here. We all mess up. Then he says, forgive my hidden faults. He's forgive me. I'm sure I've done something that I didn't realize, that I didn't know. Would you forgive me for that too? Forgive me for everything I have done that has not been what you wanted. Keep your servant also from willful sins. May they not rule over me. Saying, help me in this struggle. He's a man, powerful, 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 rich beyond comparison. And he's praying to God, please help me with this struggle. It's real. Even for David. We struggle with stuff too. And here we see King David saying, help me with this struggle. Keep me from making stupid mistakes. Modern day verbiage, basically. Then he goes on to say, then I'll be blameless, innocent of great transgressions. May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing to you in your sight. Lord, my rock and my redeemer. My rock and my redeemer. On you I cling. You are my foundation. That's what he's saying. I rest in you, and you redeem me. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? I love 19. He starts off by saying, nature's shown us. No one can claim they don't know. And knowing the God that made that made us, then David telling us how precious God's words are. Then he says, help me. Please help me in this struggle. On you I rest. And only you can redeem me. Love 19. Love it. Any thoughts or questions before we move on? Dennis?
The willful sins.
Yes.
Those are the dangerous ones.
You bet.
There's sins of ignorance, sins, high-handed sins, and those are kind of like the willful sins. And then there's sins, what did I say, ignorance, and sins of weakness. All the different sins, but these willful sins are the high-handed sins. They're very dangerous. It's an attitude problem.
Yeah.
And we all fight the struggle of sin, but those we tend not to fight. We just live with those.
And for those that couldn't hear, Dennis was talking about how the willful sins are the really dangerous ones. Not that all aren't, but there's sins of ignorance, of weakness. I mean, we're weak and I wish I wouldn't have done that. Or there's sins we may find out later on, the more we're in the Word, I didn't do that right. Father, would you forgive me for that? Then there's as Dennis put it, high-handed, or the willful sins, where I know that's wrong, I know that's a sin, but I want to do it anyway, and they do it anyway. Boy, those definitely are some high-handed is really I couldn't think of a better word to put it, but really high-handed towards God. And David even realized this and knew this, and that's such a blessing for us to know that we're not the only ones that struggle with this stuff, and not the only ones that make mistakes. Even David, the man after God's own heart, did too. 23. You know what? How many of y'all here have ever heard the 23rd Psalm? See, there are people, they laughed at that joke. We're going to get into the 23rd Psalm next week. Obviously, all I could do now is just read it. Everybody is very familiar with it. As I said, it's probably the most familiar psalm. But we'll start out next week and go through the 23rd Psalm. And we'll continue to progress here through Psalms. We are going to start making some bigger leaps. I know we've been going Psalm, but we are going to start moving on a little bit faster and covering more of the book itself. With that, if there is a psalm that you'd like to know more about or to cover, you have a special one or something like that, let me know. Let me know. I'll be glad to talk about any of them. So, if there is one, online people as well, let me know. Be glad to cover it. With that, good to... Yes, Dennis?
You want them now?
Afterwards.
Okay.
But all of y'all, got multiple of y'all online tonight. I hope y'all have a good evening. We miss seeing you here, but we understand it's was starting to sprinkle a little bit a while ago, and it's cold and it's dark, and hope you all have a safe evening. We love all y'all. Good night.